Your dad was so off the rail that you'd actually be offended. You're actually offended to be called Junior in his name, in his stead, and there was already a lot of fears that you could become like him. And your grandmother shielded you from him.
Yes.
And the fact that he moved you, you went on holiday, Christmas holiday, never came back.
Yes.
What tough statement that could have been, I've lost your dad. I cannot lose you.
Now, I at that stage, I could not really comprehend what she was saying by then. But the only way I could interpret the story, I was that, okay, 2 weeks monthly, my grandmother would be in problem because of my dad. So my dad was a troublemaker. So the fact that my grandmother is taking care of me now, if I do not yield to her advice, I will also be a troublemaker for her. And she's getting old. So she will say, I will not understand, but I will refer to what the stories I'm hearing about my dad. So my dad was talented. Like for me, she saw the same talent in me that was in dad, and then she tried to instill some disciplines into me. Like she was like telling me that you could have all of these talents, but if you're not self-disciplined, your talent will be fruitless. And that's why she was very adamant. She was hard on me, very hard on me.
Let's go back to your dad. At some point in time, he disappeared and surfaced in Conakry. And you sense he must have run away from, jobs that he had, people's money that he had taken for jobs that he didn't do. And that's how he may have ran away to Conakry.
Yes, there was a particular time they were looking for him because he knows how to do his work. There was a particular time I remember, still in my early childhood, wherein everybody was looking for him. Nowhere to be found. Maybe after 2 years, then we heard that he's in Conakry, he's working there.
It feels bad to be talking about your dad like that.
Well, the interesting thing about it, for all that I have been today, it could be the inspiration of that.
He told you what not to, he taught you what not to be.
Yeah,
it became a warning.
I never slept in the same roof with him. I was never scolded by him. I was never told what to do and what not to do by him. But I could just listen to the stories. I could just hear what people are saying. And I said, the best thing I could do is not to do what he's doing.
We're going to move with a couple of stuff now, because when he ran away to Conakry, a couple of stuff happened. You ended up losing your grandma. We'll be piecing this story back and all. You ended up losing your grandma, and who was the only pillar. Your grandma had left some money to you to some aunt that you were drawing from. That money got finished. Whatever balance that was in their hands, you said, give me this money. I go Conakry, I'm going to look for my dad. He has to begin to take responsibility for me. Tell us what happened.
I was in SS1 when I lost my grandma. I got promoted to SS2. That academic year in SS2 was the most fatal year in my life. That was the first time I encountered what is called failure. So I was not promoted to SS3. And I looked at my results. I said, this is not Desmond. This is not me. What happened? And I realized that the only parents and guardians that was there was not in place.
Your grandma.
Yes, I was completely distracted and everything. So it was that here I said, now, you know what? I need to face life. So I met somebody who told me, one Mr. Williams, in August 99, and he said, Desmond, I'm going to Conakry and I know where your dad is. Let's go there. I was in Conakry the whole of August, hoping that I should come back again in September for the opening
for the new school year.
Yes, for the new school year. And then my dad could not even offer me transportation to come. I was there until September.
And especially for your fees, to get money for your fees. You couldn't get the fees, even transportation.
Even transportation, I could not get the transportation to come. So by then I was like working in his construction site. I was also carrying blocks. I was also doing.
You're working on the site?
Yes, I was working because it was a building contractor. So I was in site working for him. So I actually spent the whole of first term. You imagine I had failed.
Already?
Yes.
And now you're losing another time.
Yes, I should repeat the same SS2 class. And then I had already spent the whole first term, because first term runs from September to December. So the whole of first term I was in Conakry doing some laboring. And then second term started off in January. I had missed 1 week of second term in January. And then there was this day I said, no, Daddy, I had to go back to Freetown. By then, 2 people had left Freetown, met with him in Conakry and said, we will pay his fare, allow him to come. He said, no, he's my son. When I'm ready, I will pay his fare. But they said, no,
The school
yes,
was already open.
He could not allow that. Until one day I said, no, I'm going to take my responsibility now. I ran out of the house.
And you tried to find a way.
The day I said I'm going to leave Conakry to come to Freetown, I had all of my luggage with me.
With no money.
And then it was the first time I said, Dad, today I'm leaving this house. We are going. So he said, okay, you want to go to Freetown? Let's go. So he started contacting the people that he's building the houses for. And they said, everywhere we go, they will say, Mr. Riddle, you never told us you want to send your son to Freetown. How is that early hours of this morning you are telling us to give you money? We don't have any money. Everywhere we go, they will say the same story. So we were getting back to the house, and I said, Dad, I'm not going back to that house. And I dropped half of the way.
And then you went to somebody who you knew,
yes.
Sierra Leone, who was there.
Yes, I went to somebody.
And he was in talking to that person. He was coming to Freetown that same day.
Yes, I accidentally stumbled into the person. I saw him coming out with his own luggage. And I said, where are you going?
But even himself did not have the money to help you.
He did not have. So I was like...
the people in the compound there.
Yes, I was hopeless, just sitting around. And then it was the people in the surrounding area in the compound who now contributed my transport fare. So they contributed their own transportation for me. And then that was how I left Conakry in January. And then I came back to Freetown.
In 2000?
In 2000. Yeah, 2000. When I returned to Freetown, I went back to Albert Academy second week in second term. And I met the vice principal by then, Madam Olive Johnson. I met her in the office. She said, where have you been? I explained my story, hoping that I will have some remorse or being sympathetic towards me. And I could not forget what she said. She said, Desmond, you'll be promoted to a class that is on examination. Mm-hmm. And your colleagues will be rated based on your first term performance, second term performance, and third term performance.
You've already lost one.
You have already lost first term. You will be rated on your second term and third term, and the aggregates will be divided for 3 terms. So if we are sorry, Desmond, we cannot help you.
There's no way.
So I left her office in tears, but I went to my said, if there is any future in me, it has to be now. What others are fighting for in 3 terms, I have to fight it in 2 terms. And that was how I think I became very aggressive with myself. I made it up and I was promoted to SSS3 with 2 terms of assessments.
But that was still not the end of the story, because you got to enroll in Jala University to read chemistry and biology. And there was another heartbreak there again.
I had my result, and then I enrolled into Jala University. And I could remember that's 2002. The fee for a year was 1,050,000 euros. 1,050,000 euros. First semester, you should pay 700,000 euros. One of my uncle gave me 500, another person gave me 200, and I paid the first semester of 700,000 euros. And then second semester started off. We finished second semester, and we were writing final exams. And there came in this long list of people who they were throwing out of the examination hall.
Out of the exam hall.
And then finally they called Desmond Riddle out. And that was how I dropped out of university in 2002. After I dropped out of university, Jala University, then I started working at this radio station. They were giving me this transportation. It was a transport fare. Mm-hmm. So the weekly transport was actually 7,000 euros per week. So yeah, so it was 20,000 euros per month. So then I worked there for 2 years, and then they now said they are going to give us promotion. And that was the first time they gave me 200,000 euros in 2004. I received that 200,000 euros. I remember I had 100,000 euros here
in one pocket,
and 100,000, and my 2 hands were in my pockets, so that nobody will mistakenly remove the money from my pockets. But interestingly, I never got home with the 200,000 euros. I remember I walked from Liverpool Street Junction, and when I reached at the point at Christchurch, going down Christchurch, West Street, there was this Hilton Finance building at West Street, a big building. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what raised my head. I saw they were doing journalism there. And I climbed the stairs, and I went there, asked, are you doing journalism here? I said, I'm working for a radio station. I believe I will not be able, by then Jala had
relocated to Bo.
To Bo. So I now said, if I leave my radio station here, and I have no one to pay my fares, who will be responsible for me? So I said, no, I'm not going to continue at Jala again, even though I now started earning money. But I could.
It would mean have to leave the job.
Yes, I had to do correspondence courses. So by the time I started doing correspondence courses, within 6 months, I started coming with my papers. I met Mr. Wright. It was Ransford Wright. Mr. Wright, I now have diploma in journalism, diploma in broadcasting, diploma in newspaper, diploma in advertising, diploma in marketing. That's what I started going up. It was then later on I went back to university and got my first degree and got my master's degree.
You now have an MBA in entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
From the University of Makeni and what's the university in Italy?
Yes,
and it's a joint Altis University.
Yeah.
You're a different man, and what battles you had to fight.
Yeah.
And you know, Desmond, if people don't hear this, even for me, this is cathartic. It's healing for me. It's and for everybody who knows you and everybody who knew you for the last 7, 8 years that you've been at Life by Design and worked in this place. Hearing the story you're telling, and was there any point in time where, and I know you've already flipped it, the absence of a father in your life, how come that did not affect you negatively?
I think personally, Joe, for me, what I developed over the years is that whether my father was there as a positive factor to me, it could affect me. Even as a negative factor to me, it also has to affect. And that's the general factor for everyone. It was in my birthday celebration, the day you were celebrating me, that you saw my 2 sons. I now have 2 sons.
Yes.
And I was surprised that they gave me a trophy, and the trophy...
And it's so funny. So can you imagine... No gift. What gift would you give your father? It's a trophy. It's a football trophy.
And the inscription in the trophy was world's best dad. And it's not just after we went home, they were still insisting on me that, Daddy, you are the world's best dad. And I could sit and say, I never had a father. My father was never there for me. But how do you develop the mindset that you don't have as an excuse for your sons not to be a good father to them? So the absence of my father is not an excuse that I could not be a good father. I took off the responsibility from him. I said my dad was not there for me. My dad did not set the responsibility. My dad did not set the example for me. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to put the onus on him that he should have done this, he should have done this. I took the lead of him. I said, okay, my dad was not there, so he was not responsible. So he is not the one that should be responsible for me.
You shouldn't blame him.
I should not blame him. I should not hate him. He was not there, and he should not have been there. The short part of the story is that it will come a time in everyone's life that you have to. There are 3 things that I like. It is dependence, independence, and interdependence. Now, what I did at the age of 15, I encountered Christ Jesus. I was saved. I was in the church. I was singing in the church, but I got saved.
Don't forget the JB Show is coming to you by courtesy of Life by Design and its partners, AfriCell, RC Bank, AYV Media Empire, Inky Media, and Chicken Town. Sweet your life, sweet your mouth. Would you want to wrap up today? As you celebrate your 40th anniversary, birthday, what message do you have for young people, particularly those who are struggling because the parents are not there for them?
I will still talk about those 3 things. Dependence. You must have a place where you have absolute dependence upon. For me, my absolute dependence is my trust in God. Now, based on where you have put your dependence, it will strengthen you to have independence on yourself. A man without independence on himself will never be a responsible man. I decided at the age of 13 that I should not take alcohol. So based on my independence, I am now able to individually contribute to society, contribute to your company, contribute to your family, and that is the interdependence. So people who are not independent on themselves, they will not make meaningful contributions being interdependent to society. So somebody will now be at the age of 40, because you have displaced dependence. Maybe you are still depending on your parents to take care of you. you will not be able to be independent on your own, and you will not be able to make contributions being interdependent.
To society.
So those three factors has to be rightfully placed: your dependence, your independence, and your interdependence.
This is not the last time you're going to hear from Desmond. What a deep story. What a solid story. There's a lot more that you're going to hear from him. But it's an encouragement, it's a challenge to you. You're not the product of your circumstances. You are the creature of your circumstances. You have the responsibility to interpret your circumstances in a way that empowers you rather than one that disempowers you. That's how Desmond would rise up to having failed. In his SS2, repeated the class and was also going to lose another. Went to look for his dad, and he was away for a whole term. He wasn't given a cent by his dad to come back to Freetown. A lot of people would have given up. He walked back to the school himself, and he was determined, I'm going to take my exams again. And he walked through. He attempted JALA, he dropped out. And he kept fighting BBN from whatever was given to him. He registered himself again for another class. And today he's a master's degree, MBA. It's not just master's on paper. No, he's already proven it on grounds. He's one of the most dependable staff. And now he's a partner with me in the business. He's made the most single contribution, most valuable contribution to Life by Design in the last 7 years. Individually, as an individual, what revenue he's brought into the business because of his skills that he's developed. And so Desmond, you fought back, and I think it's your responsibility to be able to just pay back and strengthen you. You don't have any excuse. You don't have any excuse. And even though Desmond says at 40 you would be late, would brush you up again and says, if you're not yet 40, fight on. If you're already 40, you could still create the future that was never there. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be much more difficult, but you still have a fighting chance to be able to make sure you can rescue the future and create the one that you experience, so that you would not come back to your kids and say, because my father wasn't there for me, so that's why I'm not there for you. It's no excuse. But hope you've been blessed. Desmond, congratulations once again.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the support, and I want to thank all the LBD staff for
congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.